I'm going to cover something because I think there are a lot of you that may be really discouraged. Maybe you're scared about the job market because this is your livelihood. So we're talking about your ability to provide for yourself and your family. And I think there's just constant fear-mongering and disinformation being put out there. So this is a pretty interesting Business Insider article that I'm going to source from. The headline is why your LinkedIn feed says the job market is terrible when it's good. And I could change the headline to why your TikTok feed says the job market is terrible even when it's good. I could say why your Instagram feed says the job market is terrible when it's good. And I could say why your Twitter feed, I'm never going to call it X, so don't correct me. I know exactly what I'm saying. Why your Facebook feed. So we could go on and on and on. Okay. And the answer is simply disinformation. Okay? Because where we sit today and where we have been the last 3 years is a very, I say very with all caps, strong labor market. I just got a call this morning. Neil Cavuto from Fox News wants me to join him Friday to talk about the job market. And I'm going to, as I always do when I go on these media outlets, I'm going to quote real data. And if you've been listening to this show consistently for a while, this is a drumbeat that I continually hit. I'm going to tell you the truth. You get to decide what you do with it. I'm not out here to fearmonger. So bottom line is, if you've been on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, X, you name it, there's been a lot of posts about how hard it is to find a job. And this is not necessarily a recent development. This has been pretty consistent over the last couple of years when we've been in the historically low unemployment status that our country has been in for 3+ years. So you'll see things like, I've never been unemployed like I've been unemployed this year. I can't get a job. I'm out competing against thousands of people, and it's just all this complaining and hand-wringing and pearl clutching. But what are the real numbers? And then what do we do with this disinformation? Because if the job market is as strong as I'm about to say and show, then how is it that we've got all this conversation and disinformation from real people who are having a hard time getting a job? I'll explain in a minute. Let's look at the data. The economy added more jobs than expected in November of 2023, and the unemployment rate came in below expectations at 3.7%. This is a 22-month run of unemployment being below 4%, folks. We'll tie this together. But the data says this is a historically low unemployment rate that has sustained itself for 22 months. I think we round out 2 years pretty easily if I jump ahead a few months. I think when we see December and January numbers and we put it all together, I think it's going to be very interesting. Wages are slightly up. Job openings have slowed down, yes, but still came in at 8.7 million jobs. And so there are 3 job openings per one unemployed person as of the end of October. Now, why does it feel so bad? Well, in October of 2022, there were 230,000 jobs open in the information sector. A lot of these were tech jobs. In October 2023, if you fast forward and look at year over year, there were just 172,000 jobs open in the IT sector. And that's where you're starting to see people go, oh, well, it's harder, it's more competitive, because obviously when you have a sizable difference in the amount of jobs open and everybody's competing for these jobs, the competition is tougher. And there's your clue. There's your clue. Competition's tougher. We are now living in the age of artificial intelligence as it relates to job screening. More on that in just a moment. So, there are also, and this irritates me, and this is on companies, but there is a trend now of what they're calling ghost jobs, where companies are still posting things, keeping jobs posted that they are not even remotely interested in filling. So this is another factor, okay? As to why, I'm telling you why, and how do you sift through the disinformation on social media that makes you go, oh gosh, I'm not happy where I am. Maybe I want to move on. Or I'm happy where I am. I'm afraid that if the economy goes bad, I'm going to have a hard time getting hired. This is what this disinformation does. It creates a lot of anxiety about this. So you're seeing this, and so let's talk about it. All right. So the simple factor is you have less jobs being posted that we saw 2 years ago. Companies are pulling back. So then it feels like, oh, it's more competitive. Yes, it is. The second reason it's more competitive is the ghost jobs, and things are like, oh, I'm going after this. I'm not getting any replies. And that leads to the number one reason why disinformation exists on social media. And then here's what happens. News outlets pick up on this stuff and they jump on it. There's an old phrase that has been attributed to the news media for a long time. And anybody who's in news media can finish my sentence here. If it bleeds, it leads. And that's a long time. What does that mean? It means I need to put on my news feed and my news shows stories that are sensational. Stories that induce some fear and concern, because here's what happens. The more I can put a story out that creates concern, we're calling this concern loosely, the more people pay attention. So for those of you that are going, I don't know what I'm feeling, let me tell you something. Our job economy in the United States is as healthy as it has been in a very long time. And yet inflation's high and you see all these headlines. So what do you do with it? Well, know that one of the reasons you see all this chatter on social media is because people aren't wanting to compete. And the way they're competing is they just submit a bunch of stuff online, sit back, and hope they make it through the artificial intelligence filters. They apply. That's not the best strategy. So what happens? They get a bunch of no's, or even worse, no replies. So what do? They go on social media and they go, it sucks out here. This job market sucks. There just aren't any good jobs. No, there's lots of good jobs. You just haven't landed them yet. So the Chicken Little complaining and griping on social media is what creates the headlines that it's really hard to get a job. The fact of the matter is, it may be hard, it may be competitive, but you can get it. They're there. This is the Ken Coleman Show.